Hey everyone, Cynics here, and I'm back for part 5 of my little sketchbook tour series. This sketchbook is a little bit rough. If the last video was all about going through art puberty and the slowing down of growth and not knowing what you're gonna do, this one is more of an existential crisis of the mid-20s, both figuratively and literally. I think I spent about, you can see the back cover isn't even here on this sketchbook. I think I spent a good 4 or possibly even 5 years with just this one sketchbook, and that is never a good sign. I was definitely going through a terrible time, both personally, physically, mentally. There was a lot of great stuff. The crippling anxiety, the agoraphobia. I don't even think I left my house for like 1 year, and that was probably during this whole sketchbook. This whole sketchbook is just a mess. And it's not that the art necessarily reflects that. The art's, relatively okay. It's not like it got super dark or weird. But just the representational aspects of knowing this sketchbook took like 4 or 5 years to get through just really makes it ugly in my opinion. But anyway, hopefully it'll be fun to look through at least. I know the art's kind of interesting. I was still developing a little bit, but not very much. I kind of came to a grinding halt somewhere in those mid-20s where I stopped really focusing on art and was wasting all my time just playing video games, Ragnarok Online, IRO, Loki's server, Hurdle Asura Guild, woo! But no, I was just wasting all my time playing video games, doing nothing of merit and nothing valuable aside from the occasional art. It just kind of fell apart and I was a horrible person with horrible things wrong with me. But eventually I pulled through it, so that's fine. We'll take a look, we'll see how it goes. But who knows what crazy things we might find in here. Okay, well that's a little disappointing. I was hoping there'd be an animal or something. But anyway, let's take a look. As you can see, it says Cynics, round 5. That's very nice of me to label everything. And it looks like I was having somewhat of a social life, at least trying to. There's a lot of phone numbers in this book I had to block out. So that's a good sign, right? Not really, I don't know. I think I was just struggling to find any purpose to my little existence at the time, trying to go on dates and do all that stuff. But anyway, for this book, I think I will actually take someone's advice and try showing it a little more closely in depth. I'll bring in the camera and we'll just look at it page by page in the horizontal format. So I'll be moving this around and it's going to require a little bit more editing and a little bit more work, but you'll be able to see the art a little better. Even if it's sideways, I think it'll work out. Some stuff's this way, some stuff's that way. It doesn't really matter in the end. Alright, I think that's about the best I'm going to do, so here we go. You can get a little closer look of everything. It's kind of picking up where we left off in terms of skill levels. A couple little interesting character things. I think it's still roughly, I want to say at least 80 or 90% original stuff, but you'll definitely still see some copies and studies of other artists thrown in here and there. So I don't know if I'll be able to point them all out, so I'm just giving you fair warning. Anyway, let's jump right in. I'm going to have to move all the pages around every time I switch the thing, so that's going to be a little bit annoying. So it's still mostly faces, but the faces are a little more developed. You can see there's a lot more structure to the jaws on most of them. A couple of them are still pretty weird and rounded, but for the most part, faces coming along, drawing way too many of them. There's definitely plenty of struggles going on still. You can see I'm writing little notes, draw with your arm. That's a good meme. Remember that thing called emotion? I certainly don't. Let's see, what else can we find? This just says bad. I think these are a couple studies. I don't know what they are. Got some costumes over here. Always enjoyed the costumes. Need to get back to that. And some more silly things. It says draw with the arm again. It's like I wasn't really putting it in. Your lines are shit. So that's good. I'm still being extra hard on myself. A couple of these things look like studies, but who knows for sure. I remember complaining about not having enough full figure stuff in the last book, so at least there's a few more gestury things, although wow, those are some bad proportions. It really is a staggering amount of repetition when you look back on all of your sketchbooks over the years. It's like so many of the same exact faces done over and over again, the same angles, the same everything, just grinding away, filling out sketchbooks. It's amazing how many times you can draw pretty much the exact same thing in your life without really getting tired of it or feeling like you've ever mastered it. Because there's definitely still a lot of work to go, and I'll probably be drawing the same looking faces for the next 50 years. That's a bit optimistic. So let's see, we got more generic stuff. I kind of like the angles going on a couple of these. This one's got a big old round butt. What I really hate is when I cross stuff out in my sketchbook. In fact, I hate when everyone does that. If you make something bad, just don't cross it out. It just makes the whole page seem a little more crappy. So try to avoid crossing stuff out, even if it's something horrible that you hate. Just let it rock. Just let it sit there. Don't cross things out. It's not a good habit to get into. For the people that might ask, I don't really have a good explanation for that whole crippling anxiety thing I mentioned that I went through. A lot of people struggle through their mid-20s. It's hard to find your place in the world. Some people have severe anxiety like myself, and, some people don't, which is good. All I can say is, just know that it will get better and things will pass and you'll feel a lot better eventually. You'll find your comfort and your confidence, hopefully by the time you're 30. That's about when it worked out for me anyway. This looks like some rough Ashley Wood-esque study. You can see here, even in these early days, I was trying to find my groove when it came to things like hands and feet. I had already figured out what I mentioned in my drawing hands video, how it was nice to really do tapered boxes and really space out the fingers a lot. You'll see that even early on, I realized it just looks good. I like the way it looks anyway. What else do we got? I'm pretty sure some girl drew these in here on a date because that's definitely not my drawings. And here's a horse named Fred. So that's not something I would make. Let's see, what else can we find? Studying things like hands as much as I could. Although if you would have asked me to explain my thought process or some tips, I probably wouldn't have been able to figure anything out. But I can see now what was going on in my head, even if at the time I probably wouldn't have been able to process it. Here is definitely a study, and these look like they were probably self-portrait-esque, but not that great. I don't know, that's not a very good likeness for the record. Ah yes, we have some hands holding flip phones. That's something you won't see this day and age. Remember flip phones, guys? But no, this was for some practice drawings for a little painting I did way back in the day. It was supposed to be a car. See, I was practicing cars too, so it was like a car and a giant nuclear explosion in the background, and then the person's just taking a picture of it because they don't know what else to do. Kind of a very deep cut on society. No, I don't really know. Wasn't that meaningful. A bunch more poses and faces. I don't know what this is. It was probably a study. Who really knows? But I like those little tiny teeth anyway. I gotta try more stuff with that. These pages are feeling pretty light on effort. This must have been one of those like 1 page a month things because man, it's feeling a little regressive here. Looking like they used to in the olden days. Just rough little circles and scribbles and a whole lot of nonsense struggling with even the most basic human forms. So I guarantee you I was not drawing a whole lot. This must be during peak anxiety time where I wasn't drawing, just playing my games, staying in my room, probably sleeping all day. Who knows? Probably just awake every night and sleeping during every day. Being a useless person, trying to find my way. These look like a couple more berserk type studies, if I remember correctly. But we got some mouths and things. Once again, a little regressive. This all feels like stuff you could have found in the last sketchbook. On this side, we got some girls, probably photo studies, don't really know. Just practicing very typical, similar looking faces throughout here. Well, you can definitely see some of the signs of the mental anguish on this page. Just reading any of these little notes, this all sucks. It's a sad little frowny face. Please just draw, create something. This love affair with misery has to end. Are you having fun? So it's a lot of notes like that I'm writing to myself, and I can tell I was probably in a pretty miserable mind state. Born for conflict, bred for drama, to what end? Personal values. Being very poetic here. But it looks like I found a brush pen, which is nice. Once again, heavily inspired by Ashley Wood. I'm glad for Ashley Wood because that was definitely keeping my dreams for art on life support during this time. So that's good that things didn't die out completely. It was also around this time that I got contacted by a cool guy named Rashawn Clark, who was doing some comic book writing and just writing cool stories all around. I really liked those stories he was writing, by the way. I still like him to this day. I think his stories were pretty interesting and unique. but he asked me to do some pages for a comic he was developing. So here are some notes I started taking for things like that. You can see the designs progressed through this page. Had our little airship guys with the different airships and the characters. I did some paintings for these, and you can see I'll put them up here. But there's our little ship, our little pilots, our little princessy looking character. It's all kinds of fun stuff. Here's some more ideas for the different characters. So it's all very sparse, but at least there is a little bit of creativity going on throughout these years. Obviously, once I would finish one thing though, I pretty much just disappear back into video games and stop messing around with it altogether. But there we go, you can see these little thumbnail ideas. I made them into actual digital paintings. And what else can we find? More of the characters. I was really having a lot of fun with his stuff, but some of them look okay. There's still a bit of craziness. It looks like I was going back studying some hardcore pics again for old time's sake. Just drawing probably Ashley Wood type stuff. I wonder if this was based on a historical figure. Kind of looks like Dennis Franz. Only 90s kids will remember Dennis Franz. Anyway, I like some of these girls. That's kind of pretty. I can completely see the Ashley Wood influence on everything I was drawing. I'm glad it seeped into my art because it made my drawings a lot more likable to me. I know not everyone loves Ashley Wood. It's very minimalistic, kind of deconstructionist, but I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a good focus on shapes, which are what is most important in art. That Ashley Wood phase definitely helped me make more appealing female characters as well, in my opinion, although I kind of lost it and went off on my own tangents and really lost the appeal of my female characters, but I'm working on it. I'm building it back up. This has got to be a doodle of my Ragnarok Online character or something. I don't know. It just looks like it. Anyway, it looks like I was going back once again, maybe looking at Sparth, looking at Herodia, looking at different artists, looking at boobs apparently. Repetition, repetition, it never ends. You can see that even doing skull studies, you can never do enough skull studies. You can see how closely it relates to this like human face over here. You can practically see this fitting in right under it. How the eye socket is very shadowed, and this kind of has a nice look to it. So skull studies, once again, great way to improve your faces. This looks like another one of my emerald weapon redesign things. Who knows? Got more female faces, more armory stuff, more mechanical stuff. Not the best mechanical stuff though. Here we go, some clothing studies. Now this is quality stuff. I never get tired of looking at these. I can go back and look through books and books of clothing studies. I should have become a fashion designer. Oh well, these fashions are actually very good. That's, I guess, a nice suit. I don't know, some interesting ideas, not necessarily appealing. You can see, I can see now anyway, how like different shapes need to be adjusted to make the form more appealing. I don't think I got it back then, but at least I was experimenting with shapes. Here we have our Hall of Presidents or something. Is that Lyndon Johnson? I don't know. That's kind of a good cloth thing. I'm sure that was just a study of something, maybe, I don't know. Kind of like the way these whole angles are going on this body though. Still struggling through my constant state of anxiety attack. Well, it's all in your head, control it. That didn't really help. I think I needed to get some medication or something to actually help deal with that. So maybe it's all in your head, control it isn't the best advice to be giving. Maybe seek out some medicine that might make things easier for you. That might be more helpful. But anyway, that's not important. Just keep your mind open to that stuff, because I was very closed-minded when it came to getting medical help or, you know, seeking external help. I thought I was so smart in that I can deal with any problem on my own. Especially a mental problem, right? You're the master of your own mind. You should be able to deal with anything through self-motivation and thought. Well, maybe not. That's probably not the best way to go through life. I certainly changed my mind and it worked out a lot better, so all I can say is don't be stubborn when it comes to stuff like mental health and well-being. Anyway, we got some hands here. Looks like some... I was trying to do sequential type art. Man, that's a horrible nose. Questionable at best. Definitely looking at a lot of Ashley Wood stuff and trying to figure out how to do sequential art. Even when it's a bit wonky, I definitely appreciate when I'm exploring graphic design elements for things like hair. Although I think I just needed to understand flow a bit better, because flow is like the secondary part of exploring graphic design. Anyway, Got some characters over here, some more gestury stuff, so that's always good. Got some people standing up, stretching upward, different poses. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Those are interesting feet things. That's definitely a good female face there. I always like it when I stick to the white irises and everything. It just has a good appeal to it. Even on this page, some decent female designs. I'm sure this one's based on a photo, but nonetheless, my photo studies were looking a bit better. I like that you can see some form to the cheeks and some interesting graphic flowery elements in the hair. So that's all pretty good. I like my likenesses. My likenesses look like they're getting a bit better. Female faces a bit prettier. But this must have been another rough page. Learn to build from any direction. Yeah, it looks like a lot of miserable, why can't you do this? Come on, use your eyes. And frustration anytime you can't achieve what you want to achieve. So then it becomes a bit of a struggle, and you can see the struggle continuing. Although, some of these are okay. They're decent female forms. I remember I messed up the mouth on this one, so I just blocked it out, which is, once again, goes against my goals of not scribbling, but at least if you just block it out, it's not as aesthetically unappealing. Yeah, there's another girl with flowers in her hair. That's a fun thing to draw. If you haven't drawn girls with flowers in their hair, you should try it. It's pretty fun. It's pretty interesting mix, and it creates some graphical elements. It's a way of doing graphical elements in a more realistic setting. If you're not into the super hyper stylized stuff and minimalist Ashley Wood things, maybe you can just do graphical stuff with flowers in the hair. But here we got more hands. These hands are looking a little bit better. I like the nice simple flow of these. You can see, once again, the old strategy, making the index finger a little longer than the middle finger just to create a nice flow. I was doing it all back then. And I'm still doing it to this day. Sometimes it doesn't work. This one doesn't work. It shouldn't be longer on that one. But a lot of these are looking okay. And just as I say that, here's a terrible hand for everyone to laugh at. No, some of these, oh gosh, the feet and hands, they're just falling apart on me. These must have been some photo references, but they're not very good if they are. That face kind of fell apart. But it looks like we're up to November 1st, which, you know what that means? It's self-portrait day back then. So apparently that's what I looked like at the time. This was like the first self-portrait day, if I remember correctly. What an emo-looking 20-something-year-old. Well, it's accurate. I was super emo and lame. But there we go. Some more drawings. I kind of like these faces and heads, and I was exploring this little cross-hatch style. Not real cross-hatching. We don't want the lines to cross like that. We want them to line up and not cross over each other. It's like variable hatching, we can call it. It's definitely a style I still like, and you should explore a little bit. If you've never done it, variable hatching, make little patchwork, or I guess you can call it patch hatching too. Patch hatching, variable hatching, whatever you want to call it. I think these past few pages were kind of a resurgent time. I've been drawing a little bit more. It was one of those little bursts. So I'd been drawing more, leveling up a little bit, just probably for like a couple weeks. But here I am in the mid-stroke of it, just making cool little drawings of things. All my females looking, a little better. Things are getting better. Once again, flowery studies with girls. Always a good combination. Search and destroy. You got this angry guy right next to some flowery-looking girl stuff. It's a nice little contrast for a page. It looks like I was really trying to nail down this bald soldier guy. And also my pretty girl faces. So trying to nail down both of those. So that's good. I think, actually, now that I remember it, I think this was around the time where I was actually doing I got some jobs working for like a little comic book studio thing. I forget what it was, but I was doing some studies for that stuff. It looks like we have some more pretty quality little photo study type stuff. I don't know, there's definitely some original stuff mixed in here, but some photo-y stuff. What's with small eyes? I don't know. You had no idea, young cynics, what was to come. The eyes only got smaller and smaller, but that's neither here nor there. Let's look at this guy. This is definitely photo. I don't remember who that is. I'm sure it was someone, though. Someone maybe I knew. I don't know. This is a pretty good photo study. Got our little devil girl over here. She's saying 666. That's pretty evil. I would say likenesses definitely bumped up a lot. Somehow, despite not drawing that much for roughly years at a time, we were still leveling up. So maybe there was like a year in between, but then we came back a little stronger, and then we take a year off and come back a little stronger. So who knows? We're just confident like that, I guess. When it comes to art improvement, I'm confident. When it comes to other stuff, maybe not as much. But art improvement, that's something you can always be confident in. Anyway, another handful of pretty females. And once again, some more. I think some of these are studies. I don't remember which ones. I think most of these are kind of probably studies. Some of them definitely are not, and it's probably obvious. Well, maybe it's not obvious. I don't know. Oops, let me just move that down a little bit more. See that grumpy, disgusted girl over there, looking quite disgusted. Well, we got some more original stuff, and I'm really liking the beard approach on this guy. That's quite a nice look, if I do say so myself. I kind of like it. The hairline's maybe a little weird, but I like this. I like this expression in this face. Let's see, we got a little hay over here. It's nice that I still have the sense of humor to laugh at every bad hand or unhappy face I made. That's a good quality. You should be able to laugh at all of your mistakes. At least don't take them too seriously like I was on different pages. It's good if you can just be a little more humorous about it. Hey, these are definitely some more drawings I did for Rashawn Clark stuff. These are those two characters from the airship thing. And then I did this little short story he had about a raven and a girl and I don't know, it was very interesting, and I really liked the art I made for it. It was very foresty and colorful, and that was good. Well, I would assume this was probably based on another artist because of the hairstyle and everything. But nonetheless, I like some of the art brush stylings I was using when making those little studies. More brush pen photo studies, I think. Some of these are decent. Got some pantsuit up there, and my favorite character, girl with turbine for head. I don't know what that was for. Brush pen stuff really never gets old. I love the look of brush pen stuff. It always feels so confident, and it has that nice dark contrast. It's hard to not find it appealing, at least for me. This is a pretty good expression, I think. I like that facial mouth. You can kind of get a feeling for what the rest of this person is like just from that face. I don't know what this is. This feels like a demented self-portrait, but it's definitely not what I look like, so who knows what that was. We got more original kind of character-y stuff going on. I really need to get back to doing more flowers with brush pen and drawing pretty girls next to flowers. That girl's not as pretty. I think I messed it up a little bit, but potentially could have been good. Got some more clothing studies. It looks like I was working on folds, probably doing studies of who knows what. I don't know why this is such a common face and that derpy expression seems to be everywhere. Let's see, this guy was definitely for the comic little studio I was working for. Here's some more gesture stuff. I think it's worth noting that I had never gone to figure drawing during this whole period. In fact, during this whole sketchbook, I don't think I had gone to figure drawing. Even by the time it ended, I had still never once gone to a live figure drawing, but in the coming sketchbooks, of course I did, and I go every single week now. But at the time, I was just trying to figure it out on my own and trying to just learn from both imagination and the occasional photo study, but really just trying to piece it together. And it's a lot better if you just go do some live figure drawing. It helps a lot to improve your anatomy. Anyway, looks like we got more of those little studies for the character job I was doing for that company. I guess that was a fun time. It sure takes a lot more time to go through these individual pages instead of two at a time. But hopefully you're enjoying seeing things at a slightly higher quality. This looks like very Ashley Wood-esque stuff. And on this side we have more photo studies. Just all the photo studies. This one was crap. But the rest are, not great either. But that's fine. We were working hard. Or hardly working. It's hard to know at this time. There's some kind of butt shot. That's always good. Nothing drastically interesting on that page. And on this page, more brush pen stuff, more faces, just all the faces. That was kind of nice. Some of them are kind of nice. Well, it looks like we got more writing on this page, and that's never a good sign. Art as a means to authority. Sounds very deep. I'm not sure what I was going through. But there's a nice girl with a guitar. I think that was definitely a photo study. Nothing is genuine except the genuinely unexamined. So deep. Absurd and determined. How exciting I was. I feel bad for whatever girl I tried to go on a date with that week. Anyway, we got more hands. Exploring shadow shapes a little bit. That's always good, like I said. Oh, it looks like I switched back to the thin pen. I don't know about that. I'm not a fan of these super thin pens anymore. Anytime I see them show up, it's a little disappointing. But it looks like I just did some quick studies of some other people's industrial design stuff. Once again, and maybe a couple more homeworld things. Luckily, I went back to the nice brush pen. The nice, comfortable, lovely brush pen. Oh no, it looks like I tried to do industrial design with the brush pen. I don't know if that was working out that well. In fact, yeah, it's not that great. I'll leave the brush penning for the exciting female characters. The industrial stuff, I like it a lot better when I'm just using a simple ballpoint pen or whatever I was using at the time. Let's see, these next couple pages are nothing but writing and phone numbers and notes, so I'm just gonna skip over a couple of them. Hey look, it's another little doodle of my Ragnarok Online character. I really played that game way too much. Oh, it's horrible. I wasted way too much time, way too much in my life. I could have been the best artist ever if it wasn't for video games. No, that's not true. I probably would have just wasted my time somewhere else. Here's some, looks like little studies. I think these are studies of other art things I had seen. So nothing original there. Here we have more butts, more girls, the classics. That's pretty good brush control. I kind of like how that one was done. Got some more sexy looking female things. Yeah, more Ashley Wood style stuff. Once again, going through that Ashley Wood phase. Sometimes I would just do studies for a couple pages. So I'm sure they're probably based on things that he actually did. A little bit of maybe photos. I don't know what that is, but I kind of like it. And some different experiments. Some weird number sequence. Who knows what that is? Maybe it's a code to something. Oh well, don't look at it. I'm just gonna... Nope, don't look at it. No, I don't think it's anything important. Brush pen photo studies. Looking a little wonky, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of... Ooh, that face is pretty bad. Yeah, questionable. Nothing drastically notable there. Rise above the rest. More expletives and Ashley Wood-esque stuff. I'm guessing the girl's Ashley Wood. I don't know. Maybe it's original. Who knows? I'm sure some of these faces were because they don't look as good. Wow, that's quite an uninteresting page. That is the most regressive page so far, I think. This page is pretty regressive too. I'm sure there was probably like a 5-month break somewhere between this page and the pages like before it. Maybe a 6-month, maybe a 1-year break. Who knows? There's lots of breaks. Just breaks everywhere. I think I was deciding on a style. Not deciding on a style, but at least thinking about what I liked most. And it was somewhere between Phil Hale and Ashley Wood. That was like the ideal for me at the time. And let's see, here we have a couple more cars and things and industrial stuff. Looks like Phil Hale-esque shadow shape studies. I'm trying to get pretty crazy with the shadow shapes. And then we're back to, I don't know what's going on here. Something Ragnarok related. Some legs. More Phil Hale-esque. Trying to capture that Phil Hale style. Phil Hale. Man, it's hard to say that bunch. Got a skeleton here. That's good. Paper's getting a little off to the side. It's gotta adjust that slightly. More photo studies, possibly? No, I think some of these are original. Some weird stuff. Hey guys, don't let the darkness eat you up. It's good advice. No, that I was just quoting a song, I think. But maybe it has special meaning. Anyway, I kind of like this. These are kind of interesting, confident lines that are going on this page. And a little more industrial stuff. I still love to do shapes that are kind of very simple like this. They always make me happy. Yeah, simple industrial stuff that actually looks a little more confident is always a good thing. A couple of these I'm sure are based on reference things. That looks like a razor, electric razor or something. No, I don't know. Oh, you see that? That's definitely signs of an emerald weaponry design. I always never get tired of that. Once again, I gotta just go crazy with those. Do a bunch of them. I can make a whole book of emerald weaponry designs. Be the best book ever. And this page is just a throwaway. I don't know. I don't see anything too redeemable on here. At least nothing really stands out as being competent or clear. Here we have a little bit more scribbly, scrabbly industrial design stuff. It's definitely not as confident or likable as the other page, though. Ooh, we're getting a bit messy on these pages. I don't know what that means mentally. I don't know if trying to fill pages this extreme is a bad sign, because I noticed I did that a lot in the really old stuff, where it would just be making little tiny things and filling the page almost obsessively. It's a little bit too messy for my tastes. Here we have a couple decent hilt tips and one bad hilt tip and one boob that makes no sense. What is going on? These lines don't match up or make sense. That's disappointing. Back to our Ashley Wood style faces. We even got our little Ashley Wood style cat. That's nice. I feel like during this whole sketchbook, it's just me constantly trying to find my groove after not drawing for a long time. So it's just constantly losing it, finding it, and then quickly not drawing and losing it again. Just a non-stop cycle. Ugh, I don't know what pen I was using on the previous page, but that thing bled a lot. That's not good. I'm sure I didn't use that marker anymore. But oh well, it looks like I was just doing gestures from imagination. More simple gestury shape studies. Ugh, kind of grimy. I especially don't like when there's multiple pages of this. That's just boring. So more little pieces of anatomy. And more. Oh, they're so boring. It's killing me inside. Oh no, they just keep going. So I guess I was really serious about trying to get really memorized on my gestures and really doing them from imagination and having good perspective and proportions every time, but doesn't seem to be working that well. I don't know. Maybe I learned everything on pages like this. Maybe pages like this are what made me better at art, but they're not very exciting to look at. Hey, at least there's a couple faces here and there, but it looks like more just simple shape design and getting a little more complicated with it at least, but oh, those are some ugly designs. Oh well, exploring different perspectives of faces. At least that top one, kind of interesting. Alright, finally back to our regular nonsense of weird faces and tiny little thumbnails of gibberish. That's a bit more what I come to expect. So, man, that is a weird face. Oh no, it looks like even at the time I realized this was a cursed book. I think by this time, even though we've only, we've gone through most of it, but it's probably been like 3 years spanning so far. Just spread out horribly. Just a horrible time. So I was really sick of this book, but I refused to just throw it out or burn it, which I probably should have done. No, that wouldn't have helped. I'm kidding. But I'm sure it would take me at least another year or two to get through it, even though there's barely any pages left. It just got worse and worse, really. But here you have it, the number one saying that I like to make up. Confidence is the only talent. That's true. Good on me. I learned that back then, and I still know it today. So anyway, got more silly faces, a little bit of okay stuff, more hyper-derivative stuff. At this point, everything's just painfully derivative. It's the most derivative. Looks like I tried some buildings or something, I don't know, probably based on something else. This is not you. You're too smart. Well, thanks, me, but apparently I wasn't. Keep looking. That's good advice. I think I actually was working for a little tiny company doing something that had to do with designing a village, which obviously is not my forte. I'm not that great at making buildings and things, but I messed around with it briefly. Oh, they don't look that good though. Oh, look at this. There's just phone numbers everywhere. That's great. Just phone numbers, serial codes for who knows what. Probably all kinds of horrible pirate stuff. And, yeah, some gibberish. I remember these pages being kind of sitting here forever. So I think this page and the next page maybe, I don't know, some of these pages just sat around for years at a time. So maybe I wasn't 3 years by that earlier point, but maybe I was. Maybe there's another 3 years of just sitting around wallowing in these pages. Your beauty makes me feel ugly. Oh, that's kind of sad. I don't know what that's referring to. But that's fine. The hands are looking good. Let's see. What do we got? There's more text here. I don't know. Should I read it? It looks like some more dark poetry. Let their vile passion be the blood that keeps them alive until the day they die. Smiles and manipulation are all the world requires of you. Shove the weight of the world off on the shoulders of the unseen. Well, that's pretty dark and grim. Why can't you be a little bit more cheerful, old me? It's so miserable all the time. Anyway, here's some stuff. It looks like a monkey. I didn't design that. I think I just copied that off something. But there's some boring faces. Some of those are definitely unique garbage. Well, let's see. Here's a page where the pen died, which always makes me a little sad, seeing the brush pen run out of ink. I think I was actually out sketching in public, judging from the... It's a lot of people's backs and people walking and people just kind of looking at the side. So I think this was out in public. Yeah, I can definitely see... Looks like I drew or tried to draw and brush pen out some actual location stuff. This page, too. Well, not all of these. I think a couple imaginative stuff, but definitely some people walking by and some gestury stuff. It's always fun to go out and draw in public, draw little things of whatever you're looking at. I center that a bit better. But yeah, you can see typical stuff, just drawing people as they walk by. At least this means that I was getting out of the house, so I think I have gone past the worst anxiety, agoraphobia, whatever you want to call it, just miserable time. And now we're finally coming out of it, so that's great. And this is it. That's it. Wow, that's the last page. So it looks like I wrapped it up. I don't know. It's just some gibberish. Nothing too exciting. This was definitely a finger person, though. Is it my finger? Who knows? Is that a thumb person? Well, it looks like I was drawing little finger people. And that's always a good time. And the last page is empty because screw this sketchbook. It sucks. This last page is officially the back cover. It's not a page, it's a cover. So that's fine. We made it through the worst of it, and everything's pretty cheery and upbeat from here on out. There's no more 5-year-long sketchbooks to go through and see how miserable we are with our dark poetry and our horrible, horrible anxiety. But from here on out, it's all pretty happy, and it's a lot of fun stuff, so I'm glad. We made it through the miserable times. We made it through our puberty last episode. In this episode, we made it through our existential 20s. But I would like to thank everyone for watching this video, and as always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons for supporting these videos. That was a weird one. Alright, see ya everyone.